Hello, and welcome to the fifth episode of the Fant IC podcast. Tonight we're going to be talking about playoff basketball as the playing games start tonight, and they continue after the playing games. The first game is Saturday, April 16th, 1 p.m. Jazz against the Mavericks. Tonight we have the Cavs and Nets going, and the Clippers and Timberwolves going in the late window. I have personally the Cavaliers pulling out against the Nets. I see them as the better team right now. Obviously, the Nets have Kyrie. They have Kevin Durant, who can arguably, as my dad said, be the best player in NBA. I think it's Joel Embiid. I just see the Cavs as a better complete team. They have Karis LeVert, Darius Garland, Rookie of the Year, Evan Mobley. They just have a complete team, way deeper and better than the Nets. When the Nets go on, the next play-in game for the Eastern Conference is the Hornets against the Hawks. The Nets obviously get two chances if they lose. I see the winner of the Hawks-Hornets game being the Hornets in a one game type of scenario. I have the Hornets beating the Hawks. I know Trae Young led the league in points and assists this year, but just overall, Hornets have a better complete team. They have LaMelo Ball. They have Mikal Bridges, Miles Bridges, who went off this year. They just have a better, deeper roster. Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, better team overall. John Collins, I'm pretty sure, isn't playing for the Hawks this game, so I definitely see the Hornets pulling this off. But when the Nets play the Hornets in the second chance, I see the Nets beating the Hornets. The Nets obviously will just be coming off. I don't see the Nets losing two games in a row, especially losing a game to the Hornets. They're still young, same as the Hawks are still young, but the Nets are definitely going to pull it out. One of the games they're going to win, so they'll definitely advance to the play-in. For the Western Conference, we have the Clippers and the Timberwolves in the first game tonight, the 7th and the 8th, and then we have the Spurs and the Pelicans. I have the Timberwolves home court advantage. I definitely see them winning the first game. I definitely see them beating the Clippers. I know it might be a little bit of an upset, but home court advantage. Paul George is coming back. He's been playing excellent in his comeback, but you have Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell. One game scenario, I have the Timberwolves winning with home court advantage. When the Clippers go on to play the winner of the Spurs-Pelicans game, I have them beating the Pelicans. I have the Pelicans beating the Spurs. One game scenario, as I said, CJ McCollum. And if Brandon Ingram plays, I know he has a hamstring injury. That kind of sways the way the game goes. If, in fact, Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum play, I definitely have them beating the Spurs in a one-game scenario, and then Clippers beating the Pelicans again as the Pelicans win and the Clippers lose. Let's get into the first round of the playoffs. There's a lot of teams that are potentially going to be upset. We have the Jazz versus the Mavericks. This is important because recently Luka was just diagnosed with a left calf strain. So if they're without Luka, I actually had the Mavs winning against the Jazz in the first round. But if they don't have Luka, I definitely, don't see them winning at all. Their team just isn't better than the Jazz if they don't have Luka. Luka's a top 5 player right now. He makes that team what it is. And if you only have Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie as your two big guys, you're definitely not beating the Jazz with Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Mitchell. Just a better team overall. That's for the Western Conference. I have Utah beating Dallas if Luka doesn't play at all. And then for Phoenix against whoever makes it into the 8th seed, which I have being the Clippers, Phoenix is going to wipe them. As good as the Clippers are this season, they're a really good team for an 8th seed in my opinion. But I just have Phoenix beating them. Phoenix is probably the best team in the league right now. I would not be shocked if they just clean the entire Western Conference. They, in my opinion, are my favorites to win the NBA Finals. They're just a really complete team. Chris Paul, Devin Booker's looking ridiculous this year. He could be an MVP candidate, as I said in my last podcast. Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, just Jay Crowder. It's a really, really, really good team. So I have Phoenix beating LA if LA gets the 8th spot. For the Golden State versus Denver, that's a really interesting series because Golden State didn't play too good coming out of the All-Star break, but that being said, they just released yesterday that Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. won't be playing for the playoffs. They won't be returning for the future. So, you just have the same Denver team, Will Barton, Jokic, a couple key players on that team. But Golden State's just a deeper team, as I've said. They have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, who just went off the other night, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, Kevin Looney's been playing really solid actually this year. He's one of 5 players to play the entire season. So I see the Golden State Warriors beating the Denver Nuggets. In my opinion, I know obviously playoffs don't play into MVP voting and stuff, but if Denver doesn't make it out the first round and Joel Embiid and the 76ers do, I think that personally solidifies Joel Embiid as the MVP, but that's a different discussion. And then we have Memphis versus Minnesota, who I think is going to be the 7th seed. Obviously, this is a hard one because Memphis is a really good team. John Morant just came back. Minnesota's they're a deep 7th seed. They're a good 7th seed team. So I see Memphis. This one could go the distance. This could go seven games. I have Memphis pulling it out. Memphis is a really good team this year. Super, super good. Better without John Morant, which is crazy. Minnesota is not a bad team, though. Minnesota's young. They're really, really good. They're missing one player. They're missing one piece to put them over the edge. They just need, like, one more really... Like, if, what's his name? Could just be consistent, the shooter. I'm forgetting his name. He had 11 threes. I'm forgetting his name. But if he could be really, really consistent on that team, it would totally... If they just had a consistent shooter on that team. I mean, obviously, Anthony Edwards is good, but he has his on and off games. D'Angelo Russell's always injured. Karl-Anthony Towns is a stud, but they just need one more player. That seasons ago when they had Jimmy Butler, I mean, that was a team that was really, really good. But I have Memphis pulling this out. Desmond Bane, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., who almost would have played the entire season if he didn't miss, like, the last couple games. I'm pretty sure he missed 3 games, but he would have played the entire season. Steven Adams, what's his name, just came back. I'm forgetting his name, too. Small forward on that team. He's playing really, really good. But yeah, that's a definitely deep team that I see beating Minnesota in the first round. Heading over to the Eastern Conference, we have the 1 seed Miami playing who I think is going to be the 8 seed the 8 seed Nets. I think this is a really good regular season team, Miami. I don't think they're a great playoff team. Your star player can't be Jimmy Butler. And I know that's hard to say, but Jimmy Butler's not a crazy... I mean, he was really good in that bubble run, but I just don't think Jimmy Butler is the guy that can lead you to another championship run. I really don't at this point. He's not fantastic at anything. He's very average overall. I mean, obviously they have a deep team again, but how far does that get you in the playoffs when you have 8 good players? I mean, you only see them playing really 6 in the playoffs. And Bam Adebayo's good. Kyle Lowry's good. But, I mean, in my opinion, the Nets are just a better team. Like, their 2 star players outweigh the entire roster of the Miami Heat, who I don't think are that experienced and I don't think are that good in the playoffs. We've seen it time and time again. Miami's just not good in the playoffs. I think the Nets are definitely going to upset the Miami Heat. I know my friend Ryan's not going to like this, but Miami Heat's, there's some frauds. Now, this is my big upset of the first round. I know that I said if Philly makes it out and Nuggets don't, Joel Embiid solidifies MVP, is my favorite player. But Toronto's a really good team, man. I mean, Toronto's obviously my favorite team. But, I mean, they had 5 players over 15 points. Fred VanVleet, OG, what's his name, Pascal, Gary Trent, and Scotty Barnes all averaged over 15 points. They're just a really, really good team. I mean, Philadelphia's good, but at the same time, they've had their downs towards the end. James Harden has not been playing very, very good. He's been shooting really, really inefficient. So I see Toronto pulling this one out. I mean, it might upset a couple people, but again, I don't think Doc Rivers is the coach to get Philadelphia where they need to be. I don't think he's good enough. I think Philly's good on their own, but, they've had their struggles in big games. And I think Toronto's a really well-coached team, really strong team with a good 5. And if, someone steps it up, like Gary Trent has had his fair share of 30-point games that could just take over Philadelphia. So that's what I see happening in a little bit of an upset. Even though they're really close seeds, 4th and 5th, I think it's a little bit of an upset in people's eyes. And then we have Milwaukee against Chicago. I see Milwaukee beating Chicago outright, maybe 5 games. Chicago's a fraud team again. I said this about Miami. I think Chicago is more of a fraud team than Miami. Chicago, I'm pretty sure, went like 0-20 in games against top 3 seeds in both the Western and Eastern Conference. They're just not a good team against bigger, better teams, to put it blunt. Obviously, Milwaukee has Giannis. They have Chris Middleton. They have Jrue Holiday. Both insane defenders, Jrue Holiday and Giannis. And they just got Brook Lopez back. Milwaukee just won the championship. They're coming off of a really, really great season. I would be shocked if Chicago pulled it out against Milwaukee. They don't have Alonzo Ball, who at this point, I mean, when is he going to play? I mean, he's been ruled out for the rest of the season, but it seems like every season he's ruled out. So I don't know about that signing, but that's a different story. I just see Milwaukee beating Chicago. Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan has a lot of playoff history with not making it out of the first round, not making it out of the first round, but not being successful in the playoffs with the Raptors. And I just see Milwaukee wiping the floor with Chicago, to be honest. And then in this is probably the biggest matchup in all of playoffs, in my opinion, is Boston against Cleveland. Sorry, I mean, Cleveland, in my opinion, I don't know. I love this team. I love Karis LeVert. I love Darius Garland. I wish Jarrett Allen was. I'm pretty sure. Let me look up real quick if Jarrett Allen is healthy. I'm not sure if he is. Yeah, Jarrett Allen is pretty much out for the rest of the season. If he was healthy, that would definitely boost them. But I do have Boston winning. They've been insane the second half of the season. They've been just a really solid defensive team. Marcus Smart is up there for Defensive Player of the Year. I have them beating Cleveland, but I have it going 6. Cleveland, I wish they had one more good player. I wish Colin Sexton was still playing these. They're just such a good young team that I love watching. I love Cleveland. Someone said if that LeBron went back to Cleveland right now, they're easy championship contenders, and I just agree. I mean, you have 3 young guards. I wonder what they're going to do next year with Karis LeVert or Colin Sexton. I wonder if they're going to trade one of them or if they're just going to run them a 3. Three straight lineup on Karis. It's small forward. But this is a really good team. I just have Boston pulling it out. Jason Tatum's been up there for MVP considerations. Jaylen Brown is probably the best second option in all of the NBA. And Marcus Smart is a great defender, and they're just a better team than Cleveland. They're a little more experienced. They're a little better coached at this point in the season. So Cleveland's still young, but they're getting their wings on them, so to speak. That covers all of the playoffs. I don't want to go into conference finals. I can go into that after everything is settled. But I'm really excited for the playoffs. We got a lot of good teams, a lot of teams that could be upset. You never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. For all I said, all of that could go wrong. But, I just want to recap a couple teams that I think it's a shame that I think they're not going to do too good. I think Dallas had a crazy good season. Sucks that Luka got injured so late because they were just doing really, really good. And for Denver, I mean, you see Jokic playing as he is. I'm pretty sure he's the first player with 2,500 points, 1,000 assists, and maybe 1,000 boards and 500 assists. Just had a crazy season. A couple teams that aren't probably going to make it out of the first round with just spectacular players on the team. That's all I got for the first round of the playoffs in the NBA. I hope you tune in again on Thursday. I'm going to be discussing the first week of baseball and how that went over. Again, I appreciate all of you guys watching, and tune in on Thursday.